The throne room of the Zelkari Empire shimmered with blue light from the twin suns outside. Princess Kira stood before her father's crystal throne, her silver hair reflecting the dancing lights on the walls. Her hands trembled slightly as Emperor Vex spoke in his cold, commanding voice. "The humans have proven useful in our border conflicts," the Emperor said, his forearms folded across his chest. "They ask for little yet fight fiercely. Today we seal our alliance with them." Kira watched her older sister, Crown Princess Mira, smile from her position beside their father. Mira had always been the favorite daughter, the one groomed for power. Kira was just the spare, the extra princess no one really needed. "Father," Kira began, her voice steady despite her fear. "What do the humans want from us?" Emperor Vex turned his glowing purple eyes toward her. "They want a symbol of our commitment, a living guarantee of our alliance." He paused, letting the words sink in. "You will go with them, daughter. You will live among the humans as our gift to them." The words hit Kira like a physical blow. She stumbled backward, her mind reeling. "Father, no. I am your daughter, not some object to be traded." Silence. The Emperor's voice boomed through the chamber. "You are whatever I say you are. The humans expect a princess, and you will go." Empress Lyra, Kira's mother, sat on her smaller throne without expression. She did not defend her daughter, or even look at her. To the Zelkari, duty to the Empire came before family bonds. "But they are primitives," Kira protested. "They've barely left their own star system. They still use projectile weapons and combustion engines. How can you send me to live with such backward creatures?" Mira stepped forward, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "Oh, dear sister, think of it as an adventure. Perhaps you'll civilize them a little." Her smile was sharp as a blade. "The decision is final," Emperor Vex declared. "The human ship arrives in 1 hour. You will be ready." Kira fled the throne room, her flowing robes billowing behind her. She ran to her chambers, past the servant droids and holographic art displays. Her room, with its view of the crystal spires of the capital city, had been her sanctuary. Now it felt like a cage she was about to be transferred from. She packed mechanically, her mind numb. Her personal servant, an old Zelkari named Turn, helped her fold her ceremonial robes. "Perhaps the humans will treat you well, Princess," Turn said softly. "I have heard they value their alliances." "They value their pets too," Kira replied bitterly. "That's all I'll be to them, an exotic pet from the stars." 1 hour later, Kira stood in the royal docking bay. The human ship, the Earthship Horizon, looked crude compared to the sleek Zelkari vessels around it. Its hull was thick metal, scarred from asteroid impacts and weapon fire. The airlock hissed open, and the human delegation emerged. Captain Jack Morrison led them, a tall man with graying hair and kind eyes. Beside him walked Lieutenant Amy Ross, a younger woman with sharp features and an alert posture. "Emperor Vex," Captain Morrison said, bowing slightly. "We are honored by your trust in this alliance." "Captain Morrison," the Emperor replied. "I present to you Princess Kira of the Zelkari Empire. She will serve as our ambassador to your people." Ambassador. The word was a pretty lie. Kira knew what she really was: a hostage, a guarantee that her father would keep his word. Captain Morrison approached Kira and bowed again. "Princess Kira, welcome aboard the Horizon. We've prepared quarters for you. I promise you'll be comfortable." Kira looked down at the human captain. He was shorter than her by a head, like all humans compared to the tall Zelkari. "I require little from your kind," she said coolly. Lieutenant Ross stepped forward. "Princess, I'll be your liaison officer. If you need anything, just ask." Her voice was warm, genuine. Kira ignored the offer. She turned to her father one last time. "I will not forget this, father. I am your daughter and you give me away like a trophy." Emperor Vex's expression did not change. "Go now. Serve the Empire in your own way." Mira waved mockingly. "Goodbye, sister. Try not to embarrass us among the primitives." Kira walked toward the human ship, her head held high. She would not let them see her tears. Behind her, her mother finally spoke. "Be strong, daughter," Empress Lyra said quietly. It was the closest thing to affection she would get from her family. The human ship's interior surprised Kira. Instead of the crystal and energy fields of Zelkari technology, everything was metal and plastic. Actual physical buttons and screens covered the walls. It seemed so primitive, yet there was something solid and reliable about it. "Your quarters are this way, Princess," Lieutenant Ross said, guiding her through the corridors. Crew members stopped to stare at the alien princess, but Ross waved them back to work. The cabin they had prepared for her was small by Zelkari standards, but carefully arranged. They had tried to make it comfortable, adding colorful fabrics and soft lighting. A window showed the stars outside. "I know this isn't what you're used to," Captain Morrison said from the doorway, "but you're not a prisoner here, Princess. You're our guest. The alliance between our peoples is important, but so is your well-being." Kira turned to face him, searching for deception in his eyes. She found none. These humans were strange creatures. "Thank you, Captain," she managed to say. "I will adapt." Morrison smiled. "That's all anyone can ask. We launch in 30 minutes. Welcome to the horizon, Princess Kira." When they left her alone, Kira moved to the window. She watched as the ship prepared for departure, her homeworld visible in the distance. The crystal spires of the capital caught the light of the twin suns, creating rainbows in space. As the engines powered up and the ship began to move, Kira made a silent promise to herself. She would endure this exile. She would learn about these humans and their ways. And one day she would return home. But not as the unwanted princess they had given away. She would return as something more. Something they never expected. The stars blurred as the ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying her away from everything she had known. Her new life among the humans had begun, whether she wanted it or not. 3 months had passed since Princess Kira left her homeworld. The Earthship Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. Through her cabin window, Kira saw a small blue planet growing larger. "That's Earth," Lieutenant Amy Ross said, standing beside her. "Home." Kira studied the planet with its single moon. "It's so small. And you have only one son?" Amy smiled. "One son is enough for us. Come on, the captain wants to brief you before we land." In the briefing room, Captain Morrison stood before a display screen. "Princess, I need to explain something. You won't be living in Earth's capital as you might expect." Kira frowned. "Where then? Some remote outpost to hide the alien?" "Not at all," Morrison said. "You're enrolled in the Federation Military Academy. It's the best school we have. General Lisa Carter personally requested you." The news stunned Kira. "Military Academy? But I'm a princess, not a soldier." "On Earth, even royalty can serve," Amy explained. "The Academy will teach you about human culture, technology, and values. Plus, you'll make friends your own age." Kira wanted to protest that she didn't need human friends, but she held her tongue. She had learned these humans meant well, even if she didn't understand them. The Horizon landed at a spaceport in Colorado. The Rocky Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks white with snow. The air felt thin and cool compared to her home world. A ground vehicle waited for them. The driver, a young corporal, stared openly at Kira until Amy nudged him. "Eyes on the road, Corporal." The Federation Military Academy sprawled across several square kilometers. Buildings of steel and glass, mixed with training grounds and dormitories. Cadets in gray uniforms moved between classes with military precision. General Lisa Carter met them at the administration building. She was a tall woman with steel gray hair and piercing green eyes. She studied Kira for a long moment before speaking. "Princess Kira," the general said, "welcome to the academy. Here you're not a princess or a diplomatic gift, you're Cadet Kira. You'll train, study, and live like every other cadet. Understood?" Kira bristled at the commanding tone. "I didn't ask to come here, General." "No, you didn't," Carter agreed. "But you're here now. The question is, what will you make of this opportunity?" They assigned Kira to dormitory housing. Her roommate, Cadet Sarah Walsh, was a cheerful girl with red hair and freckles. Sarah's side of the room was covered with pictures of family and friends. "A real alien princess," Sarah exclaimed. "This is so cool. I mean, welcome. Want me to show you around?" Kira remained aloof. "I can find my own way." But the academy was more challenging than Kira expected. Physical training pushed her to her limits. Despite her height advantage, humans had surprising endurance. Her first combat training session was a disaster. "You're thinking too much, instructor," Mike Torres said after Kira's fifth defeat against a smaller opponent. "Fighting isn't just about strength or technique, it's about adaptation." "On my world, we have energy weapons," Kira said defensively. "We don't wrestle in the dirt like animals." Torres smiled grimly. "What happens when your energy weapons fail? When you have no choice but to fight with what you have?" The academic classes were equally frustrating. Human history seemed chaotic, full of wars and mistakes. Yet somehow they had survived and reached the stars. "You judge us harshly," Professor Helen Park observed during a history lesson. "But consider this. We learned from our failures. Each war taught us the value of peace. Each mistake made us stronger." Kira struggled. For weeks, other cadets whispered about the alien who thought she was better than everyone else. She ate alone, trained alone, and spent her free time in her room. Everything changed during a field exercise. The academy conducted monthly emergency drills. This time it was real. A colony ship had crashed on Mars, survivors trapped in a failing habitat. The academy sent its advanced cadets to assist in the rescue. Kira found herself on a transport with other third-year cadets, including Sarah and a squad led by Cadet Commander Eric Rodriguez. "Listen up," Rodriguez said. "The habitat is losing pressure. We have maybe 2 hours before total failure. Our job is to evacuate the children to the emergency shelters." On Mars, Kira saw chaos. The crashed colony ship had scattered debris across kilometers of red soil. The habitat dome showed spiderweb cracks. Inside, families huddled in emergency gear. "Move the children first," Rodriguez ordered. "Kira Walsh, take the east section." Kira followed Sarah into the damaged section. They found a group of young children crying and scared. One little boy had been separated from his parents. "Hey there," Sarah said gently, kneeling beside the boy. "What's your name?" "Tommy," the boy whispered. "I can't find my mom." "We'll find her," Sarah promised. "But first, we need to get you somewhere safe." A support beam groaned overhead. Kira looked up and saw the ceiling starting to buckle. Without thinking, she grabbed Tommy and Sarah, pulling them back just as debris crashed down where they'd been standing. "The exit's blocked," Sarah shouted. Kira spotted another path. "This way." She carried Tommy while Sarah helped other children. They crawled through maintenance tunnels, Kira using her height to push aside obstacles. They emerged near the emergency shelters just as the habitat section collapsed completely. Tommy's mother ran to them, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she sobbed, hugging her son. "Thank you so much." Tommy looked up at Kira with huge eyes. "Are you an angel?" For the first time since leaving home, Kira felt something crack inside her chest. These humans, so fragile and short-lived, showed such courage. Sarah had risked her life for strangers. The mother's gratitude was real, powerful. "No," Kira said softly. "Just a cadet." Back at the academy, General Carter called Kira to her office. "Instructor Torres says you've been holding back in training," Carter said. "Cadet Walsh reports you saved several lives on Mars. So which is it, Cadet Kira? Are you here to sulk, or are you here to learn?" Kira stood straighter. "I want to learn, General." Carter smiled. "Good, because tomorrow you start advanced combat training. And Kira, your squad mates are waiting to celebrate today's rescue. Don't you think it's time you joined them?" That night, Kira sat with Sarah and the others in the cafeteria. They shared stories, laughed at jokes she didn't quite understand, and included her in their conversations. "You did good today," Rodriguez said. raising his glass of juice. To Cadet Kira. To Kira, the others echoed. As Kira looked around at their faces, she realized something had changed. These weren't just humans anymore, they were becoming something else. Friends. 5 years passed like flowing water. Kira stood on the academy parade ground, her commander's insignia catching the morning sun. She had grown stronger, faster, and wiser. Her once proud isolation had melted into genuine leadership. Commander, Kira, your unit is ready for inspection, Sergeant Kyle Parker reported. The stocky man had served under her for 2 years now. Thank you, Sergeant, Kira replied, moving to inspect her troops. Her unit included Specialist Maria Gonzalez, Private Jake Foster, and 6 others. Each soldier stood at perfect attention as she walked the line. Kira remembered her first day as a unit commander. The soldiers had been skeptical of the alien officer. Now they would follow her anywhere. Outstanding as always, team, Kira announced. Dismissed for morning training. In the command center, General Carter and Admiral John Bennett watched a holographic display. Their faces were grim. Cadet. Forgive me, Commander Kira, Carter said as Kira entered. We have a situation. The display showed her home system. Zelkari defense fleets were in chaos, ships scattered like leaves before a storm. A massive invasion force pressed toward the inner planets. The Vorkun Horde, Admiral Bennett explained. They've been conquering systems along the rim. Now they've reached Zelkari space. Kira felt her chest tighten. Despite everything, those were still her people. The defense grid? Holding, barely, Carter replied. Your people fight well, but the Vorkun adapt quickly. They learn from each battle. Bennett cleared his throat. The Zelkari Empire has requested military aid. We're considering our response. I should go, Kira said immediately. Carter shook her head. Your duty is to Earth now, Commander. You've sworn the same oath as every officer here. I know, Kira said quietly. She thought of her cold father, her cruel sister, the mother who never defended her. Yet they were still family. I won't abandon my post. News from the front worsened daily. The Vorkun pushed deeper into Zelkari space. The capital world's shields strained under bombardment. Then came the message that changed everything. Commander, you need to see this, Amy Ross said. Now a captain herself, Amy had remained Kira's closest friend. The message bore the Imperial seal. Emperor Vex was dead, killed when the palace shields failed. Mira, now Empress, called for all Zelkari to return and defend the homeworld. The message ended with the direct order to Kira. Return home, your empire commands it. Kira crumpled the message. She only wants me back because they're losing. That evening, Kira sat with her unit in the mess hall. Word had spread about the invasion and her recall order. So you're leaving us, Commander? Maria Gonzalez asked. My duty is here, Kira replied. Kyle Parker slammed his fist on the table. Bull. Commander, we followed you through hell. You think we don't know you're torn up about your home? The Zelkari made it clear I was expendable, Kira said. They gave me away. Earth took me in. And Earth taught you something, Amy said, joining them. We help those in need, even when they've hurt us. Jake Foster, the youngest member of the unit, spoke up. Commander, remember the Mars rescue? You saved those kids because it was right, not because you owed them. Kira looked at their faces. These humans who owed the Zelkari nothing were willing to fight for them. The next morning, Kira stood before Admiral Bennett and General Carter again. I request permission to lead a volunteer force to Zelkar, she said formally. Not as a Zelkari, princess, but as an Earth commander helping allies in need. Bennett and Carter exchanged looks. We anticipated this, the Admiral said. We've already put out the call for volunteers. The response overwhelmed Kira. Not just her unit, but hundreds of soldiers volunteered. Engineers offered to modify ships. Scientists proposed new weapons combining human and Zelkari technology. Humans are crazy, Kira told Amy as they reviewed the volunteer list. You have no stake in this fight. You're wrong, Amy replied. You're our stake in this fight. You're one of us now. They had 3 weeks to prepare. Kira worked tirelessly, designing hybrid systems that merged human adaptability with Zelkari power. She took human shield generators and enhanced them with Zelkari crystal technology. She modified projectile weapons to fire energy-enhanced rounds. Lieutenant Dan Cooper, a brilliant engineer, helped redesign their ship's tactical systems. Human unpredictability plus Zelkari firepower, he explained. The Vorkun won't know what hit them. The night before departure, General Carter called Kira to her office. "I have something for you," Carter said, producing a small box. Inside lay Colonel's insignia. "You've earned this promotion, but more importantly, you've earned this." She handed Kira a second box. Inside was the Earth Federation Medal of Honor. "For extraordinary courage and leadership in the face of adversity," Carter read from the citation. "Colonel Kira has embodied the highest ideals of the Federation service." Kira felt tears sting her eyes. "General, you've come a long way from the angry princess who arrived here," Carter said. "I'm proud of who you've become." The volunteer fleet assembled in orbit, 20 ships modified with hybrid technology. Kira's flagship, the Resilience, led the formation. "All ships, this is Colonel Kira," she announced over the fleet comm. "You've volunteered for this mission knowing the risks. The Vorkun are brutal, enemies. Some of us might not return, but we go because it's right, because that's what humans do. Stand up for others, even when those others once rejected us." "Hurrah!" The response echoed through the comm channels. Amy stood beside her on the bridge. "Ready to go home, Colonel?" Kira looked at her friend, then at her mixed human Zelkari crew. She thought about the cold palace where she'd been given, away like a piece of furniture. Then she thought about the academy, her unit, the friends who'd become family. "I am home," Kira said. "We're just going to help some people in trouble." As the fleet jumped to hyperspace, Kira gripped the command chair. She was returning to Zelkari space, but not as the unwanted princess they'd discarded. She was returning as Colonel Kira of Earth, leading humans who'd chosen to fight for people who'd once looked down on them. The transformation was complete. The princess who had hated humans now stood ready to save her birth world with human courage, human loyalty, and human friends at her side. The stars blurred as they raced toward battle, toward a homecoming none of them could have imagined. The volunteer fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zelkari system. Kira gasped at the destruction before them. Debris from destroyed ships floated like metallic clouds. The once beautiful crystal defense stations lay in shattered pieces. "Vorkun signatures everywhere," Lieutenant Dan Cooper reported from his tactical station. "They've surrounded the planet." Through the viewscreen, Kira could see Zelkar 5. The twin suns still shone, but dark Vorkun warships cast shadows across the world. The palace shields flickered weakly on the verge of collapse. "Open a channel to the Zelkari defense forces," Kira ordered. A hologram appeared. Commander Vec, her cousin. His uniform was torn, his face marked with exhaustion. His eyes widened in shock. "Kira, is that really you?" "Colonel Kira, Earth Federation forces," she replied formally. "We're here to help." Vec's expression hardened. "We need no help from humans. Empress Mira forbids." An explosion rocked his ship, cutting the transmission. On the tactical display, Kira watched 3 Vorkun destroyers overwhelm Vec's cruiser. "They're too proud to accept help," Amy said quietly. "Then we help them anyway," Kira replied. "All ships, execute Battle Plan Alpha. Show them how humans fight." The human ships scattered in seemingly random directions. To the Vorkun, it looked like chaos. But Kira had trained her fleet in guerrilla tactics. Small wolf packs of ships struck at Vorkun supply lines and communication nodes. "Colonel, incoming message from the palace," Communications Officer Pete Johnson announced. Empress Mira appeared on screen, her crown tilted, her face dirty with ash. "Sister," she spat the word like poison. "Come to watch our final moments?" "I've come to save our people," Kira replied calmly. "Stand down your pride, Mira, let us help." "Never, I won't have our empire saved by primitives led by an exile." The transmission cut off as the palace shields failed completely. Vorkan ground forces poured into the capital city. "Ma'am, they're targeting civilians," Sergeant Parker reported. He was commanding one of the ground units. "Permission to engage?" "Granted. All ground forces protect the civilians. Show the Vorkan what humans are made of." Kira watched her forces work. They moved unlike anything the Vorkun had seen. Where Zelkari fought in rigid formations, humans adapted constantly. Squad leaders made instant decisions. Soldiers covered each other, used the terrain, set ambushes. In space, Captain Amy Ross led a daring raid on a Vorkun command ship. Using modified stealth technology, her team boarded the vessel and planted charges. "Colonel, I've got access to their tactical net," Amy reported. "Sending data now." Information flooded Kira's displays. Vorkun communication codes, shield frequencies, weapon specifications, but most importantly, Dan Cooper found what they needed. "Colonel, look at this," Dan said excitedly. "Their shields pulse in a predictable pattern. If we time it right." Kira saw it immediately. "A synchronized strike when they're weakest, Dan, you're a genius." She opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships' new attack pattern, sending timing data now. Below, the ground battle raged. Kyle Parker's squad had rescued hundreds of Zelkari civilians, shepherding them to safety. Even Kira's old servant Tern was among them. "Princess?" the old Zelkari gasped. "You returned?" "Not Princess," Kyle corrected. "Colonel. And yeah, she came back for you folks." The space battle reached its crescendo. Kira coordinated the fleet like a conductor leading an orchestra. Human and modified Zelkari weapons fired in perfect synchronization, each shot timed to hit during shield fluctuations. Vorkan ships began exploding. Their supposedly impenetrable defenses crumbled before the hybrid assault. "Push them back," Kira commanded. "Drive them from our space." As the Vorkan fleet wavered, their warlord made a desperate move. The massive command dreadnought headed straight for the planet. "They're going to ram the capital," Dan warned. "Those engines could crack the continent." Kira made an instant decision. "All power to engines, we're intercepting." "Colonel, no," Amy protested over comms. "The resilience can't stop something that size." "Watch me," Kira replied grimly. She turned to her bridge crew. "Anyone who wants to evacuate, do it now." Not a single person moved. The resilience raced toward the descending dreadnought. Kira remembered her father's words about duty to the Empire. But this wasn't about Empire or duty anymore. This was about people, Zelkari and human alike. "Target their engine core," she ordered. "Everything we have." The ship's closed distance. Vorkan weapons tore into the Resilience's hull. Alarms screamed. Smoke filled the bridge. Then Kira saw it, a weakness in the dreadnought's armor where two hull plates met. There, she manually targeted the spot. "Fire!" The shot was perfect. The narrow beam penetrated the armor and hit the antimatter containment system. The dreadnought's engines died, its descent slowing. But it wasn't enough. The massive ship would still devastate the capital. "Colonel, I have an idea," Dan said, blood running down his face from a cut. "If we overload our own engines and ram them—" "Do it," Kira ordered without hesitation. The Resilience, battered but defiant, slammed into the dreadnought's dead engines. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface. Both ships were thrown off course, tumbling away from the planet. Escape pods launched from the Resilience as the ship broke apart. Kira stayed at her post until everyone else was away. Then, finally abandoned ship. From her escape pod, she watched the dreadnought explode harmlessly in space. The remaining Vorkan forces, seeing their warlord destroyed, retreated in disorder. On the planet below, Zelkari forces finally joined the human units. Together they drove the last invaders from their world. Hours later, Kira stood in the ruins of the palace throne room. Her escape pod had landed near the capital. Her uniform was torn, her face smudged with soot, but she stood tall. Empress Mira approached slowly. Her crown was gone, her royal robes replaced with battle armor. For the first time in their lives, the sisters looked at each other as equals. "You saved us," Mira said quietly. "You and your humans." "We saved each other," Kira corrected. Around them, human medics treated Zelkari wounded. Human engineers worked beside Zelkari technicians to restore power. Soldiers who had been enemies now shared water and rations. I was wrong, Mira admitted, the words clearly difficult. About humans. About you. Father was wrong too. Kira felt no triumph in her sister's admission, only sadness for the years wasted, in pride and prejudice. The Vorkun will return, she said. We need to stand together, Zelkari and human. Mira nodded slowly. As equals? As family, Kira replied, extending her hand. For the first time in their lives, the sisters embraced. 6 months had passed since the Vorkun defeat. The great council chamber of the Zelkari Empire buzzed with heated debate. Representatives from every colony world had gathered, their holographic forms filling the vast space. Kira stood at the speaker's platform, wearing her Earth Federation uniform with Zelkari ceremonial additions. Beside her, Empress Mira sat on the ancient crystal throne, but the old arrogance was gone from her posture. The old ways failed us, Kira addressed the council. We thought ourselves superior, untouchable. The Vorkun proved us wrong. Lord Zek, an elderly counselor, rose from his seat. You ask us to abandon centuries of tradition, to treat these humans as equals. I ask you to survive, Kira replied firmly. The humans didn't just save us, they showed us a better way. She gestured to the viewing screen, which displayed images of reconstruction. Human and Zelkari engineers worked side by side, rebuilding cities. Medical teams shared knowledge. Children of both species played together in newly opened parks. Look at what we achieved together, Kira continued. Human adaptability combined with Zelkari technology. Their courage mixed with our knowledge. We're stronger united than we ever were alone. Murmurs rippled through the council. The old guard resisted, but younger members nodded in agreement. Empress, Mira stood, surprising everyone. My sister speaks truth. I was blind, we all were. These humans we called primitive showed more honor than our oldest houses. She removed her crown and set it aside. I propose a new structure, shared leadership. The Zelkari Empire joins the Earth Federation as equal partners. The council erupted in shock. Some shouted in outrage, others in support. Order, Kira called out. She turned to her sister. You're serious? Mira smiled, the first genuine smile Kira had ever seen from her. You were given away as worthless. You returned as our salvation. If I've learned anything, it's that humans see value where we see none. The vote was close, but it passed. The Zelkari Empire would maintain its identity while joining the Federation. Kira would serve as primary ambassador, bridging both cultures. Later, in the restored palace gardens, a ceremony brought both species together. General Carter and Admiral Bennett represented Earth. The Zelkari nobility attended in their finest robes. Kira's mother, Empress Lyra, approached her daughter. I never apologized, she said quietly. For letting your father send you away. For not protecting you. It was the best thing that ever happened to me, Kira replied. Among humans, I found who I really was. Lyra touched her daughter's face gently. You've become more than any of us imagined. I'm proud of you, daughter. Amy Ross stepped forward with a small box. The Federation Council voted unanimously, she announced. Colonel Kira, for service above and beyond duty for bringing 2 civilizations together, you are awarded the Federation Star. As Amy pinned the medal on Kira's uniform, applause erupted from both human and Zelkari attendees. Kyle, Maria, Dan, and the rest of her unit cheered loudest of all. Mira approached, now wearing simpler robes without royal ornaments. Sister, will you stand with me as we sign the alliance? Together, they walked to the ceremonial table. The document would create the first human-alien joint exploration fleet. Ships crewed by both species would venture into unknown space, seeking new worlds and new allies. As Kira signed her name, she thought about her journey. A princess discarded like a broken toy. A cadet struggling to understand human ways. A commander who chose compassion over pride. And now a bridge between worlds. Where do we go from here? Mira asked. Kira looked up at the stars visible through the crystal ceiling. Somewhere out there, new challenges waited. The Vorkun might return. Other threats might emerge, but they would face them together. Wherever the stars take us, Kira replied. But we go together. Human and Zelkari. No longer separate, but one people reaching for the stars. The first joint fleet launched 3 days later. The flagship, renamed Unity, carried a mixed crew under Kira's command. As the ship entered hyperspace, Kira stood on the bridge, Amy at her right side, Mira at her left. She had left as an unwanted gift. She had returned unstoppable. But most importantly, she had learned that true strength came not from power or pride, but from the bonds between people who chose to stand together. The stars stretched into lines around them as they jumped, into the unknown, ready for whatever came next.